Um, so my name is Talibah Bayles. I'm the founder and CEO of TNB Tax and Financial Services. I want to be considered as your trusted business advisor. I have a true, genuine passion of empowering small business owners in financial tools, specifically, as I mentioned before, in understanding the importance of bookkeeping and understanding the importance of how that folds into your business being able to have access to capital. And so I come to your corporate table with 15 years of federal civil service and small business development, where my specific mission is not only just to acknowledge that there is a small business, is a gap in the small business community when it comes to information that I'm going to be talking about today. But I want to continue to participate in events like this, to expose it, and then to close the gap, to increase the amount of conversations that we have about the importance of bookkeeping and the importance of business credit and tax compliance, and how that is going to make us more efficient in running our business. So in today's presentation, I realize we don't have as much time, but I'm going to try to cover as much of this as possible. In today's presentation, our ultimate goal is for you to be able to walk away from this implementing a business financial strategy for success. As I mentioned, I'm going to talk about the 3 B's, bookkeeping, business credit, and business financing. But today I'll spend a little more time on business credit, just because it is very relevant to the times, where some of us may not have any income coming in or limited income. It's very important for you to know about what you can be doing as it relates to business credit. So a good chunk of my presentation is on that. And so the way that we're going to accomplish implementing a business financial strategy for success today is I am going to go over the importance of corporate tax filing. I'm going to go over your business expense system, and then, like I said, business credit. And it's important for us to go over each of these things because having a successful business financial strategy encompasses a multi-tiered approach. It's not just one thing. It's not just focusing on solely business credit or focusing solely on corporate tax compliance. It's putting all of these pieces into your toolbox to deploy in being successful. And so anyone that's been to any one of my webinars, you know that I like to stabilize our thought process. Like, I know you've heard a lot of information. Maybe you're multitasking around the house while you're listening to this. And so I just want to get us focused on what we're going to be accomplishing today. And none of this is news to you, right? Like, you know what you need as a business owner. You know that, you started your business perhaps to pursue some goal or dream, maybe a family legacy. You wanted to accomplish some income, or just be personally satisfied to know that you're a business owner. But what you have found, or what you will find, is that there are some wants and there are some needs that you have to have in being a true business owner. And I like to say, how are you going to distinguish yourself between being a business owner or just being a hobbyist, right? And that's very important. It's a very important distinction. So in between looking at the wants and the needs, we know that at the bottom here of the wants column, we have to have access to capital. We have to be able to have a cash flow that's going to allow us to operate in our business. And some of those things are going to come from marketing and sales or having just a natural confidence. But the majority of being able to get that access to capital and efficiently running your business is consistent upon credit building. Whether or not the owner's personal credit is good or bad, and the business credit, is it good or bad, financial management, and of course, financing. And so according to the Association of Enterprise Opportunity, I like to do quotes too, right? There are 3 common areas where business owners fall short, right? This is some more information that, you probably were thinking, and now you're like, you know what? I was thinking that. Now I understand. And so according to AEO, these areas translate into the primary need of business owners when it comes to access to capital. Number 1, we need to be able to build credit. We need to be able to build personal credit. We need to be able to build business credit. We also, in our businesses, need to have a financial management system. Are we capable of analyzing our cash flow management and tracking our financials? How efficient are we at that? Because what that allows us to do is establish a forecasting or a trajectory for revenues and profit. But each of these three pieces are fundamental when it comes to a business owner's ability to get capital. So we've identified the problem, right? And as I mentioned before, it's a multifaceted approach. So my solution to you is that through deploying the financial tools we're going to be talking about, tax compliance, a financial management system, building business credit, you're going to be well on the path of successfully running your business and obtaining the access to capital. And so what I do with my clients and what I do with business owners is we focus on these things: tax compliance, bookkeeping. And I promise you, I don't know if some of my clients are in joining us today, that no matter whether you have $0 or thousands, millions of dollars, these things work. Focusing on these things year round absolutely work, and they produce a bottom line that will get you that capital. So the dreaded tax, oh my God, taxes, right? I was on Facebook a little bit earlier today and actually walked into the office with a lot of calls and text messages because the IRS is deploying the stimulus. We've heard stimulus probably a million times. I probably say the word stimulus 100 times in the past couple of days, which is quite overwhelming. But the number one simple strategy for ensuring that your company remains compliant, aside from all of the talk about the tax stimulus, is really and truly to think about taxes all year long. So we're uniquely thinking about that now, just in what we're dealing with being affected by COVID and all of the stimulus efforts that are being done by Congress. But if you remove that to the side, in our community, we often think of filing taxes as a one-time shot. Like it's just like a one-time transaction. You've seen all the memes that come around during tax time about what you're going to do with your refund check. And, I laugh at them myself and post them myself, the funny memes. But the underlying story is that we should be thinking about taxes all year long. And it really should be something, that's not considered a joke or not considered like a splurge, you know what I mean, or a stunting moment that you should do with your tax refund. Instead, we should be focused on tax planning, and especially as business owners, this has to be something that is going to be a year-round process. Okay. So these are some of the things leading to our discussion of business credit. It's probably one of my favorite topics as it relates to the small business community, because there is not enough discussion about it, right? So, and particularly for this group, I have to go over this slide when it comes to my sole proprietors and my 1099 contractors. So on your way to being able to get approved for financing, which is the ultimate goal, right? To have that financial strategy for success, where does it start? Like if you said, Talibah, like what can I do today? Like what is the quickest thing I need to do, right? So if you have chosen, whether you've chosen to be a sole proprietor versus a single member LLC or whatever the case may be, there is actually a federal employee identification number, commonly referred to as an EIN, for sole proprietors. And a lot of people don't know that, but there is. The IRS has a sole proprietor EIN. And then I think that we do need to have a discussion, at some point about some of the legal protections that you would get in being in a single member LLC, but I won't digress to that. But the main point of this slide is to say that all of this starts with an EIN. And if you have an EIN, right, once you have obtained your EIN, which is free of charge, issued by the IRS, then it's important that you maintain the information that's linked to your EIN. And what does that mean? If for any reason, you change your business name. In my instance, when I initially started my business in 2006, I was TMB Tax Services. Okay. As I began to add on new financial services, and certainly when I relocated and reestablished myself in Alabama, I added TMB tax and financial services. So my scope didn't change. It actually increased. So I didn't need to get a new EIN at all, but I did want to update my name. So in the event that you change your address, related to your EIN, change your name, you want to make sure that you have informed the IRS, and that you have actually made sure that when you're applying for, as we will talk about a little bit later, when you're applying for different financing things, credit cards or line of credits, that you're using your EIN and that information matches, that your address matches, because those are things that are going to be reported on your credit report, which we'll talk about. But it all starts with the EIN. Okay. So here are some uses of EINs that most people know about, and that some people don't know about. So when it comes to your business, or you as a sole proprietor, of course, the IRS is issuing them because they are now going to expect that certain taxes applicable to your business are going to be filed using that EIN. So of course, there are tax purposes for having an EIN. However, the other side, which is over here, under the blue highlighted section, is that you actually have to have an EIN to open a business checking account. Right. And a lot of folks don't realize that. So after you've established your business entity, or if you're doing a sole proprietorship, when you go to open a business specific checking account, you're going to have to show verification that you have an EIN, which is going to be that letter that the IRS issues to you when you obtained it. Other ways that your EIN is used is if you're in an area that actually requires insurance or bonding. An EIN is called for in that case. And of course, an EIN is needed absolutely in establishing business credit. Okay. So what does your financial management system look like? And in essence, what we're talking about is your record keeping. What does it look like? Feel free to pop into the chat and share your insights. How does your financial management system like, or any questions that you have, and Carmen and I will get to them. So your financial management involves your bookkeeping system. And, and bookkeeping, I don't know, like, I feel like that word is just so bland, right? For what you actually do. Even the word accounting is so bland because it just underestimates what it actually is. Being able to have an efficient bookkeeping system means for your business that you are able to forecast your business revenue. You are able to track your sales and expenses, your income and your expenses. But most importantly, you are able to say that I have efficient records when it comes to operating my business. And of course, when it comes to tax compliance, record keeping is number one. But what we have found in response to, to use stimulus again, I probably need to do a tally, in response to the stimulus packages that have been approved and dispersed in the small business community, I've been helping several folks apply for the SBA disaster loans and the payroll protection program. And I'm telling you, the number one thing that will guarantee that you get none of these trillions that have been approved is if you don't have records. You understand? So I get passionate about this. And that's why I say that the word bookkeeping is just so bland, because it doesn't do it justice. This is where a lot of our small businesses just fall short. We don't have that record keeping. And so today I'm talking about it, and I'm also giving you the option of getting those tools because they're very affordable. So I am a QuickBooks solution provider, which means that I'm an authorized reseller of everything Intuit, everything QuickBooks. And I actually am the only woman-owned certainly minority-owned, authorized QuickBooks solution provider. And so I think that that's very important. And so in being able to get that honor and get that certification, got to pour it back into my community. And again, that's why I'm here. So in what I was saying, being able to forecast your business's, financials, being able to know your financial condition is more than just logging into your bank account. It's more than just, if you still doing a check log, looking at your check log. It's more than just that. It is actually being able to use your data in the form of financial documents. And financial documents, as we have seen, I've been saying this for years, and this present situation that we're in has definitely enhanced the reality that we have to be able to produce financial statements for our businesses. That's a balance sheet, an income statement, a statement of cash flows. These are things that most traditional and even now non-traditional financial institutions are going to call for and ask for. And so I'm belaboring the point, but I'm belaboring it because, and I'll say it again, it doesn't matter if right now you're not receiving any money. Okay. You still need to have that system in place. So when everything picks back up out the gate, you're ready. You have your foundation in place, right? So now is the time. These are some of the different features that are available in the different QuickBooks Online subscriptions. You may have heard of the self-employed subscription. A lot of my 1099 self-employed individuals have this version of QuickBooks. As you can see, it assists you with estimated taxes, that quarterly taxes option. Because a lot of us are getting the 1099 miscellaneous, no taxes being taken out, right? So when you file your taxes during tax time, you're like gritting your teeth and anxious because you don't know if you're going to owe. Well, having the QuickBooks self-employed option, based upon what you're going to be putting in there in your income and expenses and linking your bank account, that subscription will tell you, hey, you know what? Based upon what you're bringing in, we're estimating you should be sending this on a quarterly basis to the IRS. That's an amazing tool in itself. Okay. All of the subscriptions now come with the mileage tracking. Okay, this is an important thing in our world, right? It's sole proprietors and creators. And you guys are, using your personal vehicles we all do, for business activity. The mileage expense is a red flag hot item, okay? When it comes to what can I get audited on, it's going to be mileage. Why? Because most people don't use the tools. You just estimating and being able to go on Google saying, well, I'm pretty sure. No. Okay. Because if a state auditor comes to you or wherever you're located, and the IRS sends you a letter and asks you for the documentation to support your mileage expense deduction, what are you going to do? And they'll disallow it if you can't documentation. So the self-employed, and actually all of them now, I need to update this graphic, comes with the mileage tracker, and it runs by GPS. So once you get this installed on your phone, you're able to simply swipe, left or right as to whether this is personal or whether this is a business related trip. And then there you have your IRS compliant mileage tracker. You're also able to do invoices in each of these things. And of course, it goes a long way in training you as to how to separate your personal and business expenses. But I won't spend a lot of time on each of these features, but I wanted to at least go over some of the highlights or let you see that these are the tools that you have access to. Okay. And these are all vital things that you need to run your business. I see LaShawna. Yeah. And we're talking about it. Like I said, we're having a conversation. I love this slide, right? Because, a lot of times, we say, "Ooh, I can't afford it." I can't afford to have no accounting system, right? And I also realized, soon after getting into this and moving back home that, everybody can't afford a full-time bookkeeper and accountant, right? But does that mean that because you can't afford it, you shouldn't have access to it? Absolutely not. So that's why it was all important, again, to ally with a company that gets it, that makes it affordable for businesses of any size in any stage to be able to efficiently run their business. So let's go ahead and debunk this myth right here with this slide that you can't afford it. Because a simple start, let's look at this middle column right here. The simple start is subscription through my QSP discount is $12.50 a month. Essentials, $20 a month. Plus 1 to 5 users, $35 a month. But most of my 1099s, most of my creatives, they're at the essential simple start area, right? $12.50 to $20 a month. Can you make that commitment? Okay. And so like I said, I definitely had to go over that slide. So now let's get into business credit. Okay. And let's talk about that. Now, let's have a little short interactive here. Who's checked their business credit reports or scores? Who knows it? And I know it's a lag, so I'm gonna keep on going. I'll wait on the answer. All right, but yes, no, or unsure. Go ahead and put that in the chat. Yes, no, or unsure if you have checked or ever checked your business credit report or scores. All right. So I like this graphic because it shows a real reality that exists when it comes to small business owners and being able to obtain credit. And what this graphic shows is out of almost 5,000 small business owners, 45% were actually only using their own personal credit score to do anything within their business. So what do you imagine can happen when it comes to that? What happens? If life happens like right now, life is happening to us. Money may not be coming in as it was. Maybe your credit score is being adversely affected. So if your business is relying solely on your credit score during these times, then the likelihood of financing may be not as great, right? So that's why it was important for me to start talking to people about business credit as a part of that overall financial strategy for success. Some people get it, right? So you got 13% that only use their business credit score. And that comes over time. Like you can't just, you can't immediately pop off getting financing just doing, business credit score. You have to build up to these different things. And always, when it does come to business financing and major money, now, absolutely, the owner's credit score does come into play. I don't want to give anybody the impression that you can just, not ever use your personal credit score, because that would not be true. However, in our discussion relevancy today, we're going to, if you haven't already been exposed to business credit, we're going to talk about some of the things you can do in establishing your business credit. So again, in conversation, exposing to close this gap, because this is based on one of NAV's surveys, that the more that small business understand business credit, the more likely you are to get approved, because it trains your behavior and it allows you to be more strategic about your financial choices. So we talked about this. Why does business credit matter? So here are the 3 major commercial credit reporting agencies. So who's heard of Dun & Bradstreet? So you have Dun & Bradstreet as one of the larger ones. Equifax, and Experian. Each of these are your commercial credit reporting agencies. There are also additional credit data sources. So what the data sources are basically what the business credit reports pull from, the different data sources. They're pulling from USPS, LexisNexis, again, to check addresses. Like I said, with your EIN matching your addresses. But they pull, these are some of the sources that the commercial reporting agencies pull from. So another interactive question. Who has any idea what a good business credit score is? What a good credit score, business credit score is. Okay. So if you get, usually when I ask the question, most people are like, oh, 700, 800, right? Because they're immediately thinking about a personal credit score. So the importance of this slide is to show you that business credit scores are completely different. Their ranges are completely different and they're different scales. So according to Experian, you have they call their ranges IntelliScore, and that's from 0 to 100. Okay. Dun & Bradstreet, they call their scoring Paydex. So you may have heard someone say, what's your Paydex score? Okay, that's pulled from Dun & Bradstreet. That also ranges from 0 to 100. And then, of course, Equifax, theirs is the delinquency score. And theirs is weird, right? It's random, but 224 through 580. So the whole point was just to show you that the business credit scoring ranges are different from personal credit score ranges. And then there's also sort of the newer score to the game, and that's the FICO SBSS. This one is used by SBA when it comes to, and obviously other commercial lenders when it comes to some of your loans. And so NAV, this is a screenshot from NAV. NAV will show you based on, it's kind of like a conglomerate of your of those three agencies I mentioned, what your SBSS score is. Okay. This is just a graphic to show the differences between the business and the personal credit scores. Also, let's talk about the differences in how the reports look, your business credit reports look. So on the personal credit scores, of course, you got a lot of, reports, you got a lot of details as to like account details. You may have like your max account numbers. You have when that account was opened. You got a lot of detailed stuff when it comes to your personal credit scores, but your business credit scores are different. In fact, there aren't any specific creditors named. It's kind of general categories as you see here. So you may see if you have any trades reporting on your business credit reports right now, then you may see, utility, communication, food distributor, material handler, versus Home Depot, Office Depot. You're not going to see those specific companies listed on your business credit report. So that's another difference. The other difference that you're going to see is that on your business credit reports, again, there are no credit limits reported. What it will say is, this was the recent, the highest charge or the highest credit at one given time was this. And this is your account balance. But it's not going to say, but the credit score limit is 10,000. It doesn't say that, credit card limit is 10,000. It's not going to say that on your business credit reports. And this is just a screenshot of a particular business credit report and how it may be reported. So now we kind of talked about this, and I'll probably go through some of these slides just to make sure that we have enough time. But these steps are ways to build business credit, right? And I told you before that business credit starts with an EIN. So if you choose to get a sole proprietor EIN, then that could be the way to do it. Or like I said, I really want to have a discussion about even just doing a single member LLC for those legal protections that come along in separating and distinguishing you, the individual, from your business. And so the overall point, what I will pull from this slide as far as the relevancy is that, you know, it goes with the record keeping. In our world, it's very, very important that you separate your business expenses and financing from your personal expenses and financing. And so, like I said, when it comes to choosing an entity or, you know, deciding to stay a sole proprietor or so forth and so on, as long as you start separating out your personal and business expenses, that's the biggest piece. That's the biggest piece that goes a long way in the record keeping for your business. Like I said, we have a lot of stuff to cover. I'm going to skip through this and talk a little bit more about business credit, because like I said, I got a lot of slides here. So who all has a DUNS number? Okay, that's going to be the challenge that now that I'm looking at the clock, that's going to be the challenge that I'm going to leave for each of you participating today, is to, number one, if you have an EIN, so it's going to be two challenges, sorry. If you have an EIN, okay, we need to check on that. If you don't, then we need to have a discussion and make sure you get an EIN, right? And then I want you to check to see it, because you got to have an EIN, you know, to check to see if you already have a DUNS number. And if you don't have a DUNS number for your business, for you to request a DUNS number. And the DUNS numbers are also free. Of course, Dun & Bradstreet will try to upsell the heck out of you. Trust and believe. But DUNS numbers are free. So I'm going to put good, Michael. Perfect. Okay. So those are the two things that, you know, I want you to work on if you don't already have it, as my piece and contribution to today's platform, that you do those things. And I'll put those links in there. Okay, the other thing that I want to, I am going to go over this. I'm going to use a little bit of my time. Okay, so in requesting a DUNS number or getting assigned a DUNS number, the whole point of that is to get into the practice of also checking and monitoring your business credit, right? And so along with that, and sort of the next step is in monitoring your business credit and going to build your business credit, you want to make sure that anyone you're transacting business with, check to see, hey, do you report to business credit agencies? For example, you know, Sprint reports. If you have a Sprint cell phone or a business account with Sprint, you can check to see, like, especially if you've done it in your EIN, ask them, hey, do you report to at least Equifax business? So again, being aware of what business credit is makes you a more aware consumer. Not every company reports to business credit agencies, because you do have to have, really, it doesn't favor a lot of small businesses. At one point in time, I was able to report my bookkeeping trades to Dun & Bradstreet, but then they changed the rules and you got to have like thousands and thousands of clients. And while I will one day, I did not have at the time, so I wasn't able to participate. So not all companies have the ability to report to credit agencies, but it never hurts asking, especially some of the bigger companies. And so once you start establishing and asking and making sure that people are reporting, just like your personal credit, you want to make sure that you do pay on time, because when you start building your business credit, you know, you want something to be in the positive, right? And you want to be able to leverage it. And so when you're pulling your business credit reports and when you start talking about your, you know, your business credit, you'll see DBT, right? And usually I ask people, like, you know, what does DBT stand for? And what it stands for is days beyond term, right? So In establishing business credit, let's say that you have 30 days to pay back an Office Depot credit card bill. You want to try to pay it off before the 30 days. But this says, according to NAV, that the average days beyond term is 11 days. So I deal with real customers with real issues. So now that you know, if you're like, ooh, okay, well, this 30 days is not the end of the world, but after that 11th day, you know. So this is good information to know. It's like when you're trying to build your business credit and you want to be in a place where you're able to leverage that for your business, the more information you know, the better. So Tammy, that is why, right, I like to talk to my sole proprietors about really thinking about like at least doing a single member LLC. But for the record, the IRS does have a sole proprietor EIN. And I mean, I can, if I had enough time, I would show it to you. But if you go on irs.gov and locate where you can apply for an EIN, when you go through that system, you'll see that there is an EIN for a sole proprietor. And I do believe that you should have a separate EIN, but for identity purposes, right? You know, in the industry that I'm in filing taxes, you know, I have to use my company's EIN. Well, I'm a LLC, but I prefer to have my company's EIN out there rather than my social. And these days, identity thefts are even hacking EINs, right? But at least, you know, if I had to choose, you know, maybe that EIN over my social. So it gives you a little bit of protection. Okay. Okay. Got it. All right. And so I saw earlier that someone, Kayla, all right. Now you don't count. Kayla is one of my Bankable clients. Of course you have a NAV account. But what I also like to expose people to, as many business owners as possible, is a NAV account. And a NAV account I think the NAV I know that NAV has changed the game when it comes to business credit. They actually are the only fintech company that allows and assists business owners to build business credit. And to give you either summary or full copies of your business credit reports. So with a free NAV account that is $0 a month, you are able to get a summary if you have business credit. And this is what I always say, especially like for Kayla and some of my other Bankable customers. Until you actually have a company reporting like something actually on your credit report, it's totally applicable and appropriate for you to have a free NAV account, because you're going to get a summary. You're going to be able to monitor. You're going to get those business and personal credit alerts if something pops on there. So a free NAV account is completely sufficient until you have business credit reporting. And I'll also put this link in the chat as well. And that's how you sign up for a free NAV account. NAV also has what they call a NAV business manager, and it's called a NAV business manager for a good reason. And like I said, that's typically when you start having accounts reporting on your business credit report. That's when I typically advise clients to upgrade to a business manager account. And so I am a certified NAV personal credit and business credit lending specialist. So I, if you hadn't been already to tell, I'm able to get my clients into the NAV community. So I will also put this link in the chat as well. And the NAV business manager is normally $29.99 a month, but you get your full business credit, full personal credit. What I particularly use business manager for, again, is for those clients who have business credit and they have them on the reports, especially for disputing errors. because errors can actually exist on your business credit report, right? And so I just let NAV do all the work on that because it's very tedious. But with this particular account, NAV will dispute any errors on your behalf. So it is really a valuable tool in the business credit world. So I know I went over just a tad, but I think the next speaker is supposed to come on at 5. Okay. Oh, okay. Wait, I do have a few more minutes. A few more minutes to take any questions. This is how you can get in touch with me. My company is on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. This is my company website. Please feel free to, I love this platform. Please feel free to go to the expo as I have a virtual booth, y'all. And the virtual booth, my current offer is for the QuickBooks Essentials subscription to be the 50% off for a whole year. All right. So if anything that I said about a financial management system rings any truth to you, and you want to make the investment of $20 a month to get yourself into a QuickBooks system, then go by my vendor booth in the expo and claim that offer. And that will get you a strategy session with me, and we can talk about more details of how a QuickBooks product could possibly work for you. So that's where getting the EIN, Tammy, is for. Yeah. No, you're fine. Okay. Any other questions? I know I covered a whole bunch in 45 minutes, but I think this was a very good appetizer to give you. And again, just to summarize, while some of the questions kind of come through, is your business financial strategy is encompassing of a multifaceted approach. All right. You have to be tax compliant. You have to have a financial management system. You have to understand business credit, because all of those things deployed together down the road will allow your company to get business financing and access to capital. And one of the other things that I'll close out on as I wait for some more questions, in the consults that I've done with clients with sole proprietors surrounding the SBA disaster loans and the payroll protection program, I did a webinar on my Facebook page about navigating the trillions, right? So if you have a Schedule C that you hadn't written everything off, right? Schedule C, you left some money there. It's worth exploring whether or not a PPP would be good for you. Don't leave money on the table, so let's talk about it. If you had 1099 folks, like if you have a 1099, a sizable 1099, let's talk about it. Do not feel that because you are sole proprietors that you're left out of the discussion and left out of the trillions world, because you're actually not. But it's difficult for us because what always gets us is that documentation and taxes. Gets us every time. But again, those are some nuggets for real. Don't leave money on the table. If you know that you have a Schedule C, or if you hadn't filed yet, so this makes it all the more smart, right? Like if you hadn't filed your 2019 taxes yet, and you're one of these ones that normally write off everything, you might want to think twice, because it's possible that in the Paycheck Protection Program, you may be able to leverage what you've left in that application. Okay, these are real facts. Completing applications as we speak and talking to banks that are processing them. And so again, it's just very important that I'm glad you guys are here and getting this information. Hope I didn't scare you off. I know it's a lot, but again, now is the time to get everything lined up. All right. Oh, you're fine, Tammy. Okay, so I'm going to just use this time to put these links in the chat. I got a few more minutes, and so I'm gonna do as promised and put my links in the chat. So this first one is for you to check to see if you actually have okay, so this is the link to check to see if you have a DUNS number. All right. And then let me go back. This is the link that you use to request a DUNS number. Okay. And then I'm also going to give you the nav links. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. And what was the other thing I said? The EIN, and that's going to be on the IRS's website. What was the other thing I said? EIN, DUNS, NAV, and I think that's it. All right. No problem, Tammy. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, well, I am going to close it up. Carmen, did you have anything? I'm going to close up my portion so that I don't go over for the next speaker. Thank you, everyone.